Hey guys, welcome to my new trophy talk. It's about Assassin's Creed Mirage, a smaller, more classic Assassin's Creed experience. But was it actually worth going for the platinum and 100% completion? In this video I break down my full trophy talk experience, including difficulty, grind and whether Mirage is really worth your time. So, here it is, the platinum and full 100% completion. I unlocked it on February 18th, 2024 at 2:33 p.m. And yeah, this was not just a quick run, I went all the way for full completion. According to PSN profiles, the platinum for Assassin's Creed Mirage is considered relatively easy. The difficulty is usually rated around a 3 out of 10 and the estimated completion time sits roughly between 25 to 40 hours. And honestly, that feels pretty accurate. But that doesn't mean it's completely stress-free, especially when it comes to collectibles and some specific tasks. Before we dive into the trophies, you're seeing a bit of early gameplay here, just to give you a feel for the world and mechanics. And yeah, quick disclaimer, since my PS5 kind of gave up on me, I couldn't include the original trophy clips this time, so this is more of a recap style trophy talk. I hope this is fine for you. So, let's talk about the story first, and don't worry, no spoilers. Mirage goes back to a more focused narrative compared to the massive RPG style games like Valhalla. And personally, I actually liked that a lot. It feels more grounded, more personal. At its core, it's kind of a revenge-driven story. Something we've seen before in Assassin's Creed. But the way it's told, especially through Basim, makes it interesting. There are twists, and while some people saw them coming, I honestly didn't. Basim as a character is, I would say interesting. He's not your typical overpowered assassin. In fact, he feels pretty weak, and I think that's intentional. You're not supposed to just run in and fight everyone. The game really pushes you towards stealth, and that's actually something Mirage does well. Now, the combat system. This is where things get a bit mixed for me. It's simple, maybe even too simple. Enemies are very predictable and the AI isn't exactly the smartest. Once you understand the patterns, fights become really easy. Compared to newer entries like Assassin's Creed Shadows, you can already see similarities in structure, but Mirage feels more limited overall. So, let's talk about stealth and mechanics. Stealth is clearly the focus here, and honestly, that's where the game shines. Using tools, planning routes, avoiding detection, that's the real gameplay loop. If you try to play it like an action game, you will struggle. But if you embrace stealth, it becomes a lot more enjoyable. One thing I really liked about Mirage is that it actually goes back to the roots of Assassin's Creed. Compared to games like Valhalla or Odyssey, this feels way more focused. Smaller map, less RPG mechanics, more stealth, and honestly, that was refreshing. The city of Baghdad is actually really well designed. It feels alive, crowded streets, markets, people everywhere. And compared to the huge open worlds in another Assassin's Creed games, this one feels more detailed instead of just bigger. This game clearly wants you to play stealth, and when you do it, actually feels really good. Planning your approach using tools, staying hidden, that's where Mirage really shines. But combat, yeah, that's a different story. The enemy AI is pretty weak. Once you understand how they work, it becomes very predictable. They fall for the same tricks over and over again. Yeah, and parkour in this game is fun, but not perfect. Sometimes it feels a bit clunky or inconsistent. One thing I really have to mention is the post-launch content. Mirage actually got a free DLC later on, adding new missions and even a new area. And honestly, that's something I really respect, especially because it wasn't paid content. Yeah. The collectibles in the game are where the game starts to drag a bit. At first it's fine, but after a while it just feels repetitive. You're basically doing the same thing over and over again. And Mirage is not a bad game at all, but it's also not a masterpiece. It sits somewhere in the middle. If you have played Assassin's Creed Shadows, you will notice some similarities, especially in how the story is structured and how the missions are built. But Mirage feels more limited and less refined overall. Now let's get into the trophies. The platinum itself isn't difficult, but it can get a bit grindy, especially when it comes to collectibles. There are a lot of them and at some point it just feels repetitive. Same goes for certain challenges and tasks. I definitely had to check a few guides and tutorials to clean everything up. And the hardest trophies aren't really hard in terms of skill, they are more about patience. Tracking down everything, completing specific requirements and not missing anything along the way. Those are the moments where the game can feel a bit tedious. Then what I want to appreciate it about the trophies is there are basically no missable trophies in this game. And that's huge, especially if you're going for the platinum. You don't have to stress about making the wrong decision, you don't need to follow a strict guide from the beginning, and you can just enjoy the game at your own pace. Everything can be cleaned up after the story, which makes the whole experience way more relaxed. Now, looking at the trophy list itself, it's actually a pretty classic Assassin's Creed setup. You've got your story-related trophies, progression trophies, collectibles, and of course, yeah, grind-heavy trophies. And that's really where the game shows its true colors. It's not difficult in terms of skill, but it definitely demands time and consistency. One thing what I noticed is that the trophies are designed to push you into engaging with pretty much every system in the game. And this is something I love about platinum runs. So you're not just rushing through the main story, you're exploring, leveling up, completing side activities, and really interacting with everything the game offers. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. It makes the platinum feel more complete instead of just something you rush through. But let's talk about one of, the trophies that are more time consuming. So, for example, throwing knives. There are multiple trophies involving them. At one point you'll need to kill a large number of enemies using throwing knives, around 75 kills, I think. And there are also trophies where you need very specific kills, like headshots with them. And I actually remember one of my last trophies was exactly something like that in my platinum run. I had to go out of my way, find enemies and just focus on getting those throwing knife kills done. It wasn't hard, but it was one of those classic cleanup trophies where you just think, alright, let's just finish this. And that's kind of the theme of this trophy list. It's not difficult, like I mentioned before, but it's very task orientated. You'll have trophies for pickpocketing, upgrading all tools, exploring every area, completing contracts and using specific mechanics. And then there's the part that felt a bit grindy to me, not in terms of difficulty, but in terms of repetition. I definitely remember moments where I've had to go back and repeat certain activities, or just clean up a lot of smaller objectives. And that's where the game can feel a bit exhausting towards the end. Especially if you're going for the 100%. Because at that point you're no longer playing naturally, you're hunting down the last few requirements, finishing specific tasks, and something doing things you wouldn't normally do. And that's where the game slightly loses its flow. But to be fair, that's pretty normal for Ubisoft games. There's nothing crazy difficult, nothing skill-based that blocks you, and no frustrating restart the game moments. So overall, how is the trophy experience? I'd say easy, difficultly, very structured, a bit grindy towards the end, but overall very doable. And most importantly, this is a platinum you can enjoy. You don't need to stress, you don't need perfect execution, you just need a bit of patience. So yeah, that's my overall experience with the trophies in Assassin's Creed Mirage. A very accessible platinum, not too difficult, but with a bit of grind towards the end if you're going for full completion. If you enjoy a more relaxed trophy hunt, this is definitely a great one to go for. But if you're aiming for 100%, be ready to put in a little extra time and patience. And that's it for this trophy talk. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like and maybe even subscribe for more trophy related content in the future. Let me know in the comments, did you go for the platinum in Mirage? And how was your experience?